And let's get right into it.
I guess so. Let's get right into it.
Yes.
So, how do you think things are going for Trump?
Well, I've looked at the polls, and I'm not just talking about Polymarket, but there are many pollsters saying that support for Trump is steadily rising.
I think he has a lot of chance. I think he has a good chance of taking it. If I'm personally being honest. I'm quite sure you're going to get the fucking idiots that are going to say, "Oh, he's evil, and he's never going to do it." But I think he actually has a high chance of doing it. What do you think happens after election day if he wins? Do you think the
Well,
Democrats are going to take it?
Risk, I think you would know the answer to that.
I
What?
suspect if the Democrats don't win, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them stay. Some of the most liberal ones leave the union. What happens after that is a question. Do they sign a peace deal and just say, look, we'll let you be your own independent nation, you'll be your own independent state. We don't want to go to war with you. We'll sign some bilateral trade agreements and just let you do your own thing. Or what do you think will happen? Do you think Trump will allow them to do that? Here's the question: do they just sign the great treaty agreement to say, but look, we'll obviously defend you, we'll let you be your own nation, we'll let you have your own independence, and we'll allow you to leave the union? What happens after that is the question.
It's going to be stretched to actually leave the union.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of them. I wouldn't be surprised. I think these people are that desperate, Jamie. They're starting to say Trump is Hitler. They're that desperate. They're pulling out the Hitler card.
Well, even if they do want to leave the union, how they're going to sustain themselves as if they're their own independent nations?
I'm saying the Democrat states fold a block, create a block. I'm saying the Democrat states create a block. The ones that are similarly aligned, they'll see together. They'll form their own union. They'll do trade between each other, and I'm sure the Democrat states will probably do some trade with Republican states, right? But who knows what'll happen? But I can guarantee it won't be pretty on either side, no matter what
Yep,
they're saying.
there's always going to be arguments on either side.
That's the question. But how does it go? Who benefits?
Who knows?
Do you think there's ever going to be a possibility of the United Kingdom joining the America as the 51st state? At this point in time, I'm more inclined to say I would rather America. I'd rather America take us in before we become a socialist republic. Because I do not want to become a socialist republic, and I don't want to be under Sharia law. I'd rather be under America. I'd rather be taken in by the Americans than be fucking hornswaggled with Sharia. I don't know. I don't think we're going to benefit. I don't know. Possibly could come to the point where Britain just becomes too unstable to the point where literally America just takes control for it directly and just integrates it and annexes it and makes it part of America. I can also see at some point Canada effectively breaking apart or joining a lot of their territory joining the States as well. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
I still don't see any good way for us. If Kamala's in, I don't see any good way for us to stop that war. Inevitable World War III. I really don't see any way to stop World War III from happening if Kamala's elected. Because I don't think she is fully capable of being able to have conversations at the length that she'll need to have conversations with Xi Jinping or Vladimir Putin. And that's what concerns me. And I don't think Starmer is remotely intelligent enough to have conversations with Vladimir Putin. That's what scares me. Do you think Starmer will be out soon?
Yes, but not too soon. It's going to take a while.
What do you think about where people campaigning for the Democrats in America? Do you think that should be allowed?
Well,
they're claiming, Jamie, they're claiming that they're doing it out of their own expenses, but how much do you want to bet that's being paid by taxman people? That'd be one.
That's a very, very murky water to be stepping into.
Unless they're fucking moron, nobody actually believes that they're paying for that out of their own pocket. I'm still skeptical. I suspect they're paying it out of our taxes, but they're supposedly getting Brett and Brood, right? And that means it's even worse because they're probably getting a place to stay, right? But that just means the Americans are paying out of their own taxes, which is even worse, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not going to be as much as the amount of foreign aid they've given out in the past year or two.
Who, Britain?
No, the United States.
They've always been giving out foreign aid, though, but they kind of need
that's the point.
They need to give out foreign aid, and they need to freaking fund other countries if they want to keep their empire. Because if they don't, there's no way in heck for them to. America, as much as I want to say it, they need to stop fucking funding wars. That's the only way they can maintain their empire. by effectively funding conflicts and effectively controlling the narrative. They do that through war, just like the British. British wasn't a trade empire. America's something different. America has always been an empire that was created effectively through war, conquest. It's kind of a mix, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else is there?
Oh yeah, I've read another ebook last night,
Okay.
and it's looking back through articles about the war in Ukraine.
They're not telling the narrative that it's like they're not telling the fact that are they looking back. They're looking at the war of Ukraine, right? How far are they going back? Are they going back
At
to
least
2017, or are they looking into the early 90s and 2000s? Because they're
I
not
think
looking into the 2000s, they're telling you a whole load of shite.
I think the main focus they're looking at is just what happened from 2022 onwards, because that was the year that everyone was talking about what was going on between Ukraine
That
and
is not
Russia.
where it started, though. It started in the early 2000s
Exactly.
with
But
like
that's
EU and fucking NATO expanding into fucking Eastern Bloc, and that's
yeah,
what pushed it. You getting into fucking Russia's backyard? What do they expect them to fucking do? If we go, that's like arming, putting nukes on fucking, giving Cuba nukes and putting. That's like giving Mexico nukes and put it up right against fucking Texas's border. What do you expect the fucking Americans to do? They're not gonna fucking take that. I should pose the question to these morons, right? Look, let's give a hypothetical scenario, right? Let's say I was Russia, right? Let's say Russia's a nuclear current, right? Country, right? They're not exactly friendly to America, right? How about this? What if I put nukes, e.g., me being Russia, on Mexico's border with America? How do you think the United States would react to that? They would get fucking antsy. They would probably fight back, and they'd probably say, "Go fuck yourself," and then there'd be armed conflict. What do you expect the fucking Russians to do? You put fucking nukes on their border. You put missiles on their border that could fucking strike their capital. What do you expect them to fucking do?
don't mess with Russia.
Fight back, yes. It's not fucking rocket science. I think most of us would do the same thing.
That is not a line that you'd want to cross.
Yeah. They're the ones that fucking... I partly think a USSR, if they were around, would be better for it. I'm starting to think that maybe a USSR. Yeah, I'm starting to think that maybe a USSR that was led by. Yeah, I'm starting to believe that maybe a USSR that was led. I'm starting to think what would happen if the USSR was still around to this day. Would we be more advanced as a society? Would we have focused more on space exploration? Would we have gained massive amounts of with space exploration? Would the countries would America actually benefit from literally Russia being around? Right? E.g., meaning it would give them competition.
Actually, although the United States would benefit from USSR still existing, I don't think it'd be as competitive because
China would still come into its own as well, right? So it'd be like a multipolar world with like three people, three major superpowers. That's the thing. I think America has lost its edge. It doesn't have someone to compete with. I think once they crippled and destroyed the USSR, right? It gave them. They were the only last empire standing, right? It gave them no competition. For a while in that, there was a three-horse race. There was Britain, there's America, and Russia. Britain lopped out because they couldn't keep up, and they were with looming debt issues, right? But if Britain could stabilise and keep its debt and could still compete, I'm pretty sure it would be more competitive. The Brits gave up and basically surrendered and became effectively an American vassal state at this point. Russia was able to keep in the race for a little bit of time, right, and re-evolutionise and build their empire. And then China came on the scene, but each country, I think America would have benefited from the USSR being around. The sad thing is, though, I don't think America. I think the USSR wouldn't have stayed communist, right? I think they would have still. I think they would have went the China model, right, where they effectively still have communist tendencies, but they open themselves up to the world market wise, right? They still have shareholders, but they still have shareholders, but it's only controlled by the government. So it's state-owned enterprises, but there still is an ability for other people to own equity in them. America fought I think America deep down thought if Russia, maybe if China adopts Western tendencies with like Western economics, would it maybe calm them down a bit? I think that ideology failed. certain aspects. So, can we talk about what happened to Yugoslavia? The fact that America might have been involved in like breaking and destroying that country.
Well, actually, I think there could be more to the breakup of Yugoslavia. Alright, so have you heard of Eurovision?
Yes.
Well, let me tell you what happened. It was 1992 in Sweden. This was the year when 1992 Eurovision was hosted in Sweden.
Yes.
Now, it's been a while looked into this. All I remember is 1992 was the last time Yugoslavia competed in Eurovision as a full sovereign nation. The following year, the civil war in Yugoslavia broke out.
Yes.
And this actually kind of goes back to
Which was probably partly funded by the CIA and MI6 or MI5. They
yes,
didn't want another Russia. They didn't want another Soviet USSR remnant still running around.
yes,
That's why they took him out. That they were scared that if Yugoslavia were able to adopt, right, they were most closest to the West, right. They worked with the West and they worked with it. They didn't
yeah.
want that. They wanted all of Putin, all of Russia's allies destroyed, apart from China, which I'm pretty sure China effectively signed a deal with them somehow, some way.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, back to Eurovision, Yugoslavia. The first and only victory Yugoslavia had was 1989, and it was by a band called, or an artist called, silly Mitch, Riva. So the artist called Riva, or at least the band was called. This band that won for Yugoslavia in Eurovision, they came from Croatia, and Croatia, although it is a country today, was once part of Yugoslavia, and that was actually one of the republics that was against being part of Yugoslavia. And the thing is, during Yugoslavia's time as a nation and also competing in Eurovision, most of the artists that competed in Eurovision were artists or bands that are Croatian. And Croats, from what I've seen, are again more against being part of Yugoslavia
I remember
than
Croats,
people from
weren't they
Serbia.
very liberal in mindset? Or were they
Well,
for one? But continue.
so yeah. So I've heard there was a video, there was a message behind that winning song in 1989, and it was about, now I know it's all about peace and unifying, but the thing was, given the influence and the impact that Croatian artists had competing for Yugoslavia in Eurovision. And the thing is, to this day, Eurovision is more than just a song competition.
Yes,
It's more than it's
you're right on that. It's mainly
yes,
political theatre. It's manipulation. It's effectively secret messaging for certain people in certain governments.
that's exactly the point. Now, even though people would argue it's all entertainment and bringing people together, well, there are that one
Not.
thing about bringing
It's
people
not.
together. But
Well, it
that's
might
the
be
thing,
bring
though.
people together. The end goal is basically secretly lead conversations. Secretly have a conversation to effectively tell the secret organizations in certain countries. It's a certain way effectively how people, I think, during World War One and World War Two used to communicate with them. So it's like secret armies and that used that to communicate. They used radio and that. They said certain things in radio, right? And they dotted maybe a random word or something like that in the thingy in a sentence to convince people to basically in Morse code effectively.
Yeah, I could see that. But anyway, and I will continue with this. The year Yugoslavia won in 1989, that's where the conversation starts. Like you said, conversation has been starting about the so-called republics within Yugoslavia actually becoming their own sovereign nations ever since that victory. 1992, that was the last time that Yugoslavia, as a full nation, competed in Eurovision.
But they also effectively, what did they gain from that though? They became weaker. They have no power, and they're
Yes,
tiny little nations or vassal states now.
history unfolds itself with many
That's why
republics.
they're wanting to fucking break Scotland up and that, because they want to be vassal states. Why? That's why I keep on saying, why would they want to break this country up? Do you want to be even more? Do you want to be a vassal state for another country? Right? We're not strong enough on our own to be an independent nation. Either way, even if we did break up, right, we'd still be singing America. We'd still be singing the Americans' tune, or whoever was really running the show. We'd be singing their tune effectively. If we were independent. We'd be independent in local laws, maybe, but international policy-wise, we would still be saying the same thing as America or the UK. Have you ever noticed, Jamie, that most Western nations, right, internal and international policies, all foreign policies, always the same, right? There's a reason for that. We gave you independence. Britain gave most of the Western countries independence locally, but regionally, they're still the ones calling the shots internationally. They might have handed it over to America, but for a while they were the ones controlling the shots. So what is the UK now?
Well, the UK is. Oh boy, how do I put it?
In reality, what it is, not what they pretend it to be. What it really is. It's just a dead vassal state, a dead vassal, a dead country which has effectively, literally transferred all its wealth and all its control over to the new empire, the new British Empire, which is America. We are effectively the last remaining remnants of a shit bygone age, right? But effectively, we transferred all our wealth, and the British Kingdom is all in America. The only difference is, the real king of America, right, is private. It's private capital, it's private, and nobody knows who the king is. But America has a king, has someone calling the shots. He's just not elected, he's not a public official. Because that's not how you really control a country. You control it through you control it through wealth, and you control it through financial pooling of strings. You control it through assets and shares. But yeah, so you were saying?
Yes, so 1989, Yugoslavia won, and discussions were ignited. 1992, last year that Yugoslavia as a country competed, and then the following year, 1993, was the first year that Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, maybe Slovenia, I hope. Those were the three, I believe last time I checked, those were the three nations that were once part of Yugoslavia. They made their debut to Eurovision. Although, may think it's over, but that's only the beginning. There were still other countries in Yugoslavia that was part of Yugoslavia. It would only be a few years later before they break away and become their own independent nations. So, having that being said and done, it is setting a pathway to a future unlike anything we could ever imagined. Because when people heard about this at the time, they were shocked. They didn't know what was going to happen next. But a few years down the line, we just are going on about our lives as if nothing ever happened. But something did happen. We don't remember it much.
So what happened to East and West Yugoslavia?
Well, I wouldn't know much about an East or a West Yugoslavia. It was just Yugoslavia and nothing else.
Wasn't there one version of Yugoslavia and another one of Yugoslavia, right? But one of them invaded. I think it was the East version that invaded the other one, and they became one country or something like that. But effectively, Serbia became. I think there was one that was controlled by Serbia and that, right? But
Oh yeah, I think whilst many of the former Yugoslav nations broke away to become their own nations, Serbia and Montenegro, which is one nation, that still existed until 2005 or 2006, roughly around that time frame.
why did it break apart?
Actually, I told this to Eric a couple weeks ago. The reason why, even though Serbia and Montenegro could have kept going, the reason they split up was, I think there was a national selection where half of the jury was Serbian and the other half of the jury were Montenegrin. Same can be said for the artists and the bands. Half Serbian and half Montenegrins.
Wasn't there some other separate territories that gained independence as well with that nation, right? Or was it just Serbia?
I think it was just Serbia. I think the same year that Eurovision took place, Montenegro was having its independence referendum. In order for their independence to go ahead, 53% of that voting population at the time, they have to say, yes, we want to break away from Serbia and become an independent nation. The reason why the day of that election, it actually gone ahead and only won it by 0.05% win margin was because of the incident that happened during the national selection.
But
there was many people calling out for fixing and favoring points to the most favorite artist that was from the same nation. Like Montenegrin artists gave many points to the Montenegrin artist that was most likely to compete, and then there was Serbian juries giving their points to the most popular Serbian artist. But that's just the juries. The real controversy came from the televotes, which is actually votes made by the public. Many of the public voted for the Serbian band. The Serbian band could have represented Serbia and Montenegro. However, the Montenegrin juries were outraged. They're trying to bend the rules a bit to make their favorite artist be the one to represent the nation. But of course, the public didn't like that. They were outraged. So for that reason, with all this debacle, which is, oh my gosh, there's so much going on, they said, you know what? We're not going to compete this year because there's too much going on. We can't have it. End of. And then the day of the referendum for Montenegro's independence, same day as Eurovision, Montenegro have all voted to say we want to be independent and only won it by 0.05% win margin. And thus, Montenegro became independent, and the rest is history.
Yes.
So that comes to show, whenever you think about whatever happens in Europe, look at what happens before, during, and after Eurovision. Because even though people say, but it's not political, well,
everybody knows.
I really can't argue against that, honestly.
Yeah, so what about the Israel? So what happened with Israel and that, and them getting all the votes?
Well, so for this year, 2023 was Malmö. Okay, they didn't get much votes from the juries, because if the juries gave points to Israel, the crowd would be booing and hissing and jeering. Then they cannot handle the pressure that was going to come onto them.
So what happened with the whole thing with Ukraine and that?
This Klein. Okay, so, man, it's complicated. In a nutshell, again, it's been a while looked into this.
At least we got a host Eurovision because of that.
Pardon?
At least we got a host Eurovision because of that, because of the whole thing with Ukraine. It was held in...
Oh, yes. Yeah, of course, but it does come at a price.
We had to pay
the reason why it was held in Liverpool was because everything in Liverpool was so damn cheap. If it was hosted anywhere else, it'd be a massive financial burden for the BBC. Well, not massive, but I don't think they would want to pay more than they want to budget for.
But wouldn't that create mass amounts of tourism?
Yes, it would that would create massive amounts of tourism. But the thing is, Eurovision is a massive global music competition event.
Then why isn't America part of it then?
Now that is a completely different discussion, and actually would cause a lot more controversy.
I would like Japan to compete. I think it would be fun.
Yeah, actually,
Japanese, Korean.
I think there are a few.
Make a global Eurovision, right? I think we should allow like freaking Korea, Japan, South Korea, Japan, Philippines, Brazil. I think I'd love to see Brazil.
Yes.
The whole world, right?
Yes, I think there have been proposals for continental-specific Eurovision-style events taking place. Like there was supposed to be one for Asia, but I have not heard of it in like 3-4 years.
These South Koreans and Japanese people watching that, they love
that'd be great.
And K-drama.
Yeah, but even if the Asian version doesn't take place, I think Japan, being an EBU associate member, just like Australia, it can compete in Eurovision. They just have to have EBU send them an invitation saying, we are inviting you to take part. Japan accepts. They do their delegations, they do the selection process, pick their artist and the song, and come around March, you should decide it by now, and then April, May, it's all the PR, glamour, and marketing and stuff.
What's the EB?
It's short for European Broadcasting Union. It's the body responsible. Okay, so EBU is like the European Union, but for television broadcasters in Europe.
So is America part of the EBU?
I'd say maybe. It's not a full member, but it is technically an associate member.
So why isn't there a music contest for the Commonwealth countries?
Because because there are a few nations that are in the Commonwealth. They're not EBU associate members, so they wouldn't. I don't think the EBU would be able to send invites to those Commonwealth nations to compete, because
I think India would be interested.
so many criteria I'm not sure of.
I think they would be interested as well. I don't see
Yeah,
why
that'd be
other
pretty
nations
cool.
do it.
And I think a lot of people would go crazy for having so many countries taking part in Eurovision. But then there comes an argument. Is it called Eurovision or is it called World Vision? Because Australia, Israel, some countries in Africa taking part.
Well, countries in Africa are taking part.
Well, actually, there are
Turkey
countries
took
that
part as well. Turkey's not really Africa. It's the UAE
it's
would probably be interested as well. And
yeah.
Saudi Arabia, that'd be a good one.
Actually, Morocco actually took part in Eurovision at one point, but that was only for 1 year. And that was the year that Israel said, we're not taking part because, well, there's this event going on, we take it seriously, so we cannot take part for it. We cannot take part in Eurovision because of an event that we're so committed to. So the year that Israel said that they can't compete, that was the year Morocco took part, and we never heard from them since.
Is that the reason? I'm guessing Israel didn't want to be part of a contest that involved Morocco.
No, it's actually the other way round. The reason why Morocco took part in Eurovision to begin with is because Israel wasn't there, but the moment Israel came back, I think a lot of North African and Middle Eastern nations that, although could take part themselves, as if the same way many European nations could, the reason they're not showing any interest taking part in Eurovision is because Israel is in the competition.
But let's
And
be real, doesn't Saudi Arabia want to normalize ties with Israel?
yes, but that's a separate story and issue. And I'm not sure about Saudi Arabia's eligibility to take part. I don't think they're an associate member.
Why
Saudi
do they need
Arabia.
to associate mem? Do you think there should be a global music contest? There's a
Yeah,
global. There's a.
I'd like to see a global music contest. However, there's going to
If
be
there are
so much
fashion
logistics.
contests about judging women's looks, why can't there be a music contest judging people's voices?
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But the thing that would be challenging is the logistics. Of course, the cost. The cost is a big thing, and because the cost of inflation is going so high, there are some countries not taking part. That had not taken part in recent years because they don't have a budget big enough to deal with.
Why don't they make it digital then? Why don't they have the people performing? Why don't they have the people performing in a local stadium, and then
Because the whole point.
and then the ones the big ones that succeed and that get the top 10 or something like that perform.
But the thing is, Risk, the reason why people go to Eurovision is to meet the artists in person. They don't want to see them in a digital screen. They want to see them in person and hug them and take a selfie. So I don't think many people would be happy if their favorite artist taking part that year is not in the same city that it's taking place because the costs and
So
yeah.
what's a way we can make Eurovision affordable for others, the world then?
Well, something I've seen previously before, what happened, we were locked in our homes for roughly 2 years, is that the local city councils in which Eurovision was hosted in those years, they subsidized the competition, giving them at least funding to help fund the competition as to reduce the prices of the tickets. That's what that's
So reducing the price of the tickets can make it more affordable.
Yes, but in order to reduce the price of tickets, the city councils that's hosting Eurovision that year, they have to chip in with their funds towards Eurovision.
Do you think that provides a good enough return on investment to warrant that though?
Possibly. It's not guaranteed, but it's possible.
If I remember correctly, Russia was a big fan of Eurovision. It's a shame
Yes.
they can no longer compete. I hope they do compete again.
Well, do I have news for you, mate?
They're coming back.
Nope.
They're not coming.
I think Russia.
Will create its own with BRICS. It will create its own Eurovision type contest.
No. The thing is, if Russia wants to compete this year, they can. However, the EBU have said we are forbidding Russian broadcasters to be part of the EBU, meaning that Russia is, as of now, indefinitely not allowed to take part in Eurovision. And I think Belarus is the same thing. The reason they don't, but for Belarus, it's in response to EBU's ban on Russian broadcasters. So neither Belarus nor Russia
But
are
just
going to come back anytime soon.
but
Even if the at least the temporary one.
yes,
But the broadcasters are like, now we don't want any part of this. We're just withdrawing our membership, and yeah, later they said.
the Russians have withdrawn their membership.
Yes, Russian broadcasters have withdrawn EBU membership, so Russia is very unlikely to return anytime soon, possibly ever. Same with Belarus.
They might
However,
make their own streaming. They might make their own music version, right? Because they might make their own contest. Because I think Russia and BRICS have got their own version of BRICS games, right? Their own like sporting events for all BRICS members, right?
yeah,
And I wouldn't be surprised. There's going to be tons of new people coming in joining BRICS, right? Brazil, you got India, you got China, you got Argentina. You'll soon have Argentina. You'll have Saudi Arabia. You got Egypt and others. So what's the new BRICS members potentially joining?
did you mention Mexico?
Wait, Mexico's potentially joining.
It's likely.
I wonder how Trump's gonna. I wonder how the states are gonna. Do you think Do you think Trump would ever join BRICS?
No.
Do you think
Because
Israel would ever join BRICS?
who would join BRICS?
Israel.
Right.
But they're very good.
I don't think they would get into that. I don't think they would get into that.
I'm pretty sure Russia's good friends with Israel, and China does a shitload of business with Israel.
Yes, but given what's going on in Gaza and other parts around Israel, they're trying to keep their distance from all of that conflict.
You don't think that they might be willing to keep the? You don't think that once things die down, they might be willing to like do? So, what countries do you think? More countries do you think would join BRICS? Do you think Japan would ever join them?
Yeah, Japan is like. I think Japan could join BRICS.
Think Vietnam would ever join?
Yeah, Vietnam is also likely.
Do you think Serbia would ever join?
A stretch, but possible
Serbia,
if very
Russia.
favourable.
Serbia is very good friends with Russia.
Yeah, that's true. But Serbia's economy, although small, I think relations between Serbia and Russia could edge it out just fine, just enough to get the membership.
Do you think Macedonia would ever join?
I think North Macedonia is very mainly unlikely.
It's a shame what happened to Macedonia. The country of the country of Alexander the Great, resorted into a tiny little pittance in the sand. It used to be a great country, a big, massive empire. Do you think Greece would ever join? So, what Western nations do you think would join it?
I think that's the thing.
Hungary?
Risk.
Do you think Hungary would join? Poland?
Yes, Hungary, Poland, possibly. I think whichever the two's economy is the biggest, more likely because
I don't think BRICS is really that worried about economies. I think they're just trying to. I think
it's just the relations, and I think Hungary relations wise is the most likely.
Hungary, yeah, they're not a bad country. Hungary, they're focusing like they want Poland and Hungary seem like people are not on the screws loose. France, do you think they would ever join? I think France was very keen on joining, but they didn't get that. Russia basically told them to fuck off.
Yeah, I think France are really keen on joining. However, I don't think BRICS would allow it because France is a poster child, or at least one of a poster child, for the Western ideology.
What
Britain's a bigger poster child for Western ideology than France.
about who do you think's the most powerful country in Britain and America, in Europe?
Most powerful country.
Influence and militarily wise.
Influence in military. It's a hot take. However, I think it's Russia.
Possibly. Yes.
Yep. Russia has a massive military. And I'm not talking about its landmass. They do have tons of tanks and helicopters.
But are they actually up top grade, or are they literal old things that are rusted?
You may think that risk.
I think Russia's a great country. I think they're great people.
Even if you think that whatever Russia's arsenal has,
I still think they would fucking smash most European countries.
yes, but that's the thing.
The only countries I think they would struggle to smash and destroy is France and Britain and Germany. And maybe Poland. All others, I think there's 4 nations in Europe that I think Russia would struggle heavily against. I think they would struggle against Britain because I think it's really hard to invade. I think they would struggle against France because of their military might, and I think they would probably struggle against Poland and Germany. Hungary probably gets swept under the rug pretty quickly. Serbia probably gets swept under the rug quite quickly. Austria probably gets swept under the rug quite quickly.
How is Poland the challenge for Russia?
Militarily wise, they're military. They're going to be a fucking supreme military power. The amount of money they're spending on their military. Have you seen their military budget? They're fucking. They're on track to be a fucking regional power at the track. The military spending that Poland's doing.
Fair enough. I will say, I think the only downside Poland has is its geography.
Has an opportunity. Poland could still be invaded, but we're talking 5-10 years from now. Poland, fucking hell, they'll be a massive giant. They'll be able to steamroll most countries in Europe.
If they keep growing at that rate, I don't think its geography would be that much of a problem.
Fucking pick up. They're on the path to becoming a regional power, which is scary, but it's the truth. Germany, they're building up their military again, but right now, so who's the 3 big powers in Europe, military wise?
Russia, Great Britain, and France.
So you put France third as well.
Yeah, I'll put France third. Although I could switch France with Germany.
I still think Germany's more of a threat than France, if I'm being truly honest.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's why I was considering the option.
I still think France is a threat. Like, realistically, who else is left? All the other countries are tiny pitting states. As much as we like to joke and say Britain's a tiny island, they still have a shitload of land. France and Germany are big, right? But compared to wise, we're still pretty massive.
Yeah, the UK has plenty of islands.
Yes, we're not a tiny nation. As much as people would like to say we're a tiny nation with next to no power, we are pretty strong. We're one of the best. I would say one of the best. People still mock and say, "Oh, Britain's retired. They've got next to nothing." They're still a nation, but are very hard to invade. They're a very hard nation to invade. As much as to say there's nobody to be able to conquer Britain, right? You can't say the same about Russia. The Germans broke through the Russian wall, right? They were stopped because of the winter, right? There's nobody. Hitler was able to reach our shores, right? But he wasn't able to fucking take the country. He gave up because he didn't have the military power. And I think America would probably give us a run for our money if we were to go to war. I think they would be able to stomp us, military-wise, but I still think it would take them a long time just to breach the country in a traditional war. Do you think it could come to the point where Britain gets couped? Well, so you're saying you don't think after Starmer's done this might actually invoke Americans' ire to freaking coup the government, coup the Labour government?
Well, given the rate is going, I think they're still going to hold off, but it's not going to last for long.
I wouldn't be surprised if Starmer gets couped by a foreign country. Specifically, I'm saying America. I think America. Can I be honest? You know, all these people pushing for Starmer to get ousted, right? It all came out of nowhere, right? Am I wrong to think that maybe it was the Republicans and Americans colluding with the Conservatives, or some foreign nation colluding with these guys to get Starmer outed, right? Like, all of a sudden, these weird things come out about Lord Ali, right? And Starmer, right? Don't you think it's a little bit convenient how all that came out? I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's a little bit convenient, and I don't believe that nothing in the news is ever released as it should be. And it's
Yeah,
never
it
released.
just
It's
seems.
always released at convenience.
Yeah, it seems too good to be true.
Yes. So who do you think's probably trying to oust Starmer? Is it the Labour government? Is it the Tory people? Tory people? Is it secretly Americans and Trump's people trying to oust this guy to make relations better? Like, who do you think it is? I have no idea.
Well, I think if we've heard recent reports now that Lab Labour politicians have gone to the US in support of the Democrats,
Yes.
it is possible that prior, it would have been people would be on the Republican side of US politics, trying to weave in possibility tactics for whatever former Labour MPs in the party say, I'm not supporting Keir Starmer anymore, I'm leaving the party. Or otherwise, Labour MPs could just possibly vote on decisions that goes against the party just for the party itself to say, sorry candidates, we're shoving you out the party because you didn't vote the same way like we did. That's a possibility that most people could argue with.
Yeah. I would be surprised if it's literally. I wouldn't be surprised if Labour is good. I think it's all men. What comes
It's
after is a thingy. I personally,
yeah.
I personally think the nuclear would be better if we were a state now at this point. Where do we go from here? Do we end up becoming an American state?
It's gonna take a while to get there.
So where do we go from here? Do we become an American state, or do we keep our independence?
I think the UK would like to keep its independence.
We have little scale in the world, though, and the
We
country
do,
that
yeah.
we live in is only going to get poorer. Do we stay with this country even though we know it's going to get poorer and everybody's going to suffer for it, or do we just bite the tongue, admit that it's time? We've had our days. We've had our day as a country. Am I wrong to think that maybe in this country, in this day and age, the size of our country is maybe too small? Maybe we, on a global scale, maybe we're too small to actually make a difference or an impact.
I mean, British Empire. I know it's
We're
straightforward, but
long for the
it
old,
doesn't matter what landmass a nation is. If you have a strong enough navy and a strong enough military,
but we're
you
broke though. We haven't got the money.
yes, that's now. I'm talking about back then when those issues were never spoken of.
I don't feel sorry for us being an empire, and I honestly tweeted last night, if we had the money, we would do it again. I have no shame about the British money. It was brilliant. What we were able to do is what every country dreams of. So you're telling me the guys, like the soldiers of Alexander the Great, didn't dream of world conquest? You're telling me you're telling me the Solomon, the magnificent armies didn't dream of world conquest? You're telling me the Turkish Ottomans didn't dream of world conquest? You're telling me the Americans didn't dream of world conquest? You're telling me the Japanese didn't dream of world conquest? They dreamt of fucking conquering China. We're no different. The only difference is we had the balls of steel back then, and we did it. We did what every fucking country wanted to do: conquer the fucking world. And I'm not sorry for it. I'm glad we did it. We brought so much better standards of living to other countries. We benefited Africa. We benefited India. We brought medicine. We brought roads. We brought basic housing infrastructure. We brought so much things to these people. Instead of being repaid for it, we're being forced. They want us to pay reparations. We built their countries, and they want us to pay them money. But yeah, different world. I still think the country would be a great country.
I see.
I still think the country. I don't feel sorry for it. I feel like we did. I think if we had the power and military again, I think we'd do it again. And I think this time America would join us, but who knows?
Who knows? Yes.
I personally think I think it's time. I think it's time to reunify. I would personally like to reunify the empire,
Yeah.
or at least the most beautiful parts of it. I would like to reunify New Zealand. I would like to reunify Australia. I'd like to reunify Canada and America. Have Canada and America ours again. I would like to reunify the Canadians, the Americans, and the British as one. The original colony. So what was the first American colony? America?
First, are you talking about the first U.S. state?
No, I mean the first ever American colony.
The first ever American
American
colony?
settlement. No, the first ever British colony.
The first ever British colony? I think it's the 13 colonies, or what was
And Canada.
the earliest version of the United States.
First 13 colonies and Canada. Time to reunify the family, father and son. This time the father, America, takes over the throne. The two sons reunite with the father. Canada and America and Britain together again. It's one family, one country, one union. I think it's about time that we reunite the Anglo-Saxons and the Americans together. I personally would like. Is it wrong to wish that all the English-speaking countries were under one roof, one nation? Well,
I don't see why not. Bring them in, show them the ropes, and we could all work something together.
I think one unified English-speaking country would be brilliant.
We're all in this together.
Yeah. One big happy family. America is one country. The English-speaking world is one country. How many English-speaking countries are there?
Oh, there's a lot.
I don't want all the British Empire's colonies. I only want the crown jewels. Canada and America. I want to reunify those two nations. Reunify as one. I want all of the American colonies as one. Apart from Mexico. Mexico can stay its own territory at once. Do you think we'll ever see a united North America?
No, lifetime.
Do you think we'll ever see a united Britain united?
Maybe, but it's not going to be like a fully sovereign nation unified.
Well, that's kind of sad. I kind of would like a unified America. A unified English-speaking country.
Yeah.
Do you think Do you think Britain will ever become a state? An American state?
It's very unlikely at the moment.
I think
but I do think relations can strengthen.
I think it's more likely than you think. I think Big Britain has lost its place in the world. It's no longer one of the leading countries, militarily wise. I think we are slowly but surely seeking. We've lost our meaning, our place in the world. Unsure, streaky economic situations. I can see Britain becoming a state. I don't know when it will be. Trump said he wanted to gain more land. He wanted more land. Why not the country that created the 13 colonies that united the world? Did Britain control all of France at one point?
Yeah, but it was pretty while back, a couple centuries ago. Not fully, but parts of modern day France they did at some point.
So how much territory in Europe did Britain actually control at one point? Well, at the heart of the British Empire, at least.
Well, the British Empire controlled at least a quarter of the world's landmass.
How much of Europe did we control? Did we control? Did we control Italy at some point?
It's hard to calculate. I haven't looked into that.
Did we control the Vatican at one point?
No, we didn't control the Vatican.
Oh, it would be fun if we did.
Yeah.
We still. Did you know? What are the reasons about the Vatican, right? The Papal States and the Vatican, right? The Vatican was literally one city, right? It was effectively, right? The Vatican, right? The only reason the Vatican still exists is because the Pope locked him inside the Vatican, right? And his guards protected him, right? Other than that was effectively his tomb. Because he lost all the states. The Papal States were all lost. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think New Zealand would ever join Australia?
No, I don't think they
There were
would.
calls for it.
Well, okay. If they say they want to join, that's cool. But I'm not sure if Australia could benefit much from New Zealand joining.
More territory.
Yes, they may have the territory, but what about the economical factor?
More territory, more land, more businesses, more economics.
Okay.
More trade routes. Do you think Britain will give up all its land and territory? Do you think it will give up Gibraltar?
No.
Do you think Britain would ever take any more land from? Has Britain ever had the opportunity to gain more land from Spain?
Not without causing attention to itself and getting big headlines.
So you're saying after World War II, right? They didn't have the opportunity to take land from Spain.
So no, there wasn't any opportunity for the UK or the British Empire to occupy land without news headlines saying, "Oh, they're invading the people's lands." They can't do that. They can't do that.
Americans that invaded Guam and the Philippines. Shut up. Man, these pesky Americans always trying to bugger in and get bugger in our business. We gave them an independent territory, local rule, and they freaking bug us. God damn it. We could have taken all of France, by the way. We could have let France die and taken all their land, split it with Germany. Do you realise that, right?
Is that so?
We could have. We could have just got rid of the French government secretly and then basically taken control of it years ago during World War II. Might have
I see.
made us look bad for a bit, but again, we could have taken control of what would have been the French movement. We could have just blamed the Germans, say, "Oh, the Germans murdered the French leader, not us." Blamed on the Germans.
Oh yes, the blame game. That's always worked.
Yes, that's how we work. That's how politics work. We could have got rid of the French guy, and we could have taken all of France for ourselves. I'm pretty sure that French guy was scared that we would just take all of France. He was right. We should have taken France. I think Churchill had regrets on back in France. The new revolution of France, right?
That's one way to look at it.
Whatever territories are there. Did Britain actually give countries independence, or did they give them local autonomy rule?
I think the only country that was given independence was Canada. Canada written a letter to the UK saying, "We want our independence, please," and the UK government was like, "Okay, here's your independence." And then Canada says thank you and goes on about their life as an independent nation.
Well,
That's what I've heard.
Internationally, they're still on our side, and we control them independently. Is South Africa an independent nation, or do we still have control over Africa secretly?
I'd say.
So, what nations actually do the UK still control internationally?
Interesting.
Because
Yeah.
we all know for a fact that most Western countries, right, they all have the same policy internationally and foreign policy wise. Why do you think that is? Because they're not countries. They might have their local cities, free states, right, but have their local government autonomy, right? But when it comes to international ways, you still follow and toe the line. Who really controls these countries internationally?
The City of London Corporation?
Which is a British-owned corporation.
Yes.
Again, the British control all these foreign countries. Is Australia a country?
Or is it a corporation?
Corporation which is controlled by the City of London.
Yeah.
Is America a corporation? Yes. Corporation controlled by our banker, our friends at the City of London. Everybody controls each other. What about Russia? Is Russia a corporation?
Some say yes, others say it's something else.
What's the something else?
Lol.
China's a corporation as well. Some say the British still have control over China to a certain extent.
Now that's interesting because not many people would know about it. They say, "Oh, that's not the case. They hate each other. How could Britain control China?"
Economically, trade-wise, militarily-wise, money's enough, right? People, you do realize a lot of the communist revolution was funded by Jews, British Jews. You don't think that those Jews still have a massive economic control? You don't think the Lai family? It's fully funded. I'm pretty sure China's heavily controlled by the Lai family, or very powerful families, which have Jewish blood in them, which answers straight back to the City of London. Investors might be in the City of London. So how powerful is the UK?
In terms of what?
Actual control and influence.
It sounds like it's a kingpin. It has all the ropes, all the strings attached.
Dread was like the octopus. If you look at the treaty, you know the treaty of the first treaty, right, of America, right?
Yeah.
For independence, right? If you actually read it, right, he says the king forgives all territory and all land and holdings, right? I'm pretty sure the king's still sovereign in America. They just don't admit it.
No, they don't want to admit that.
They're not going to admit that. The king is still
No
sovereign.
one ever wants to admit their mistakes.
The king's holdings. The king still has holdings in America. He never sold those holdings. He still has holdings in the country. So does the bankers and very powerful men. Very powerful men, but help fund some of America's greatest companies.
Well, we were.
You're telling me the very financial capital, right? So you're telling me all the very financial capital, right? So you're telling me America is not controlled by a foreign nation. You know the first people that came to this country, right? Started building corporations, right? Very powerful men, right? Very powerful men that started building companies, right? In America, right? Started investing in very powerful companies, right? You know, some of the first ever capitalists that invented businesses in America, right, were British capitalists, British venture people, British bankers, British investors. Where the people, I don't think people realize how much Britain has invested in the States. Very wealthy people have a lot of money in the States. A lot of the first businesses were funded by British capital. And you're telling me the people that made their money investing in America, right? You're telling me that they don't have pacifical influence over America. It's financial policies. But yeah. Is that us?
Yes.